Okay, welcome. And today I'm going to talk about resume and how to produce solid resume that will work for job ad matching when you encounter algorithms that will be reading and scoring and ranking resumes in the first round of screening. So basically AI-assisted hiring and resume strategies to get better ranking and matching results. Okay, so we'll talk about analytics as well. So I'll cover quite a few topics. I'll start with the changing landscape of hiring, and then I'll introduce how AI and job ad resume matching actually works. And then moving on to big data analytics for job posting at the national level. And then we'll have a brief workshop session to help you to produce your small data analytics using ontologies to evaluate job ad resume matching results. Okay, so I have quite a few things that I have shared with you in the chat. So as you can see in the screen, let me do that again. So I have three different things for you. The first one is, let's see whether I have the ontologies. I'd like you to download the ontologies tool now as you hear me talking about how things work to give you some of the broader knowledge. So you should have the access, the URL to download ontologies 3.5.0. And if you have a Mac computer, you want to go to ontologies, just the first few, right? So the same website, but go back to releases instead of using the specific older versions. You can download 4.0.6 for Mac computer. Next step, I'd like you to have a copy of your resume and save it as a plain text TXT file. And then I have a URL that can lead you to the Google Drive folder with other texts that we'll be using today. So let me check whether that's working. Okay, so if you click on the Drive, right, Google Drive URL, you should be able to go to the folder with a few tools. So we have a Google Doc with job ad resume matching exercise. And then there's a Google Tech Writer TXT file. I do have ontologies for you to download as well. And then there's another file called ontologies stopword. Okay, so download everything and start installing ontologies while you go through the different topics I'll cover today. Okay, so I'll start with the changing landscape of hiring. So basically, when we think about traditional job searches, you submit your resume and sometimes a cover letter, and the HR personnel will be reviewing everything, and they'll be inviting shortlisted candidates for in-person interviews, and eventually you'll get a job offer. However, that landscape has been radically changed, and your documents along with your LinkedIn profile will be screened by algorithms using automatic resume shortlisting. And at the very first screening process, about 70% of candidates will be rejected right away, and then up to 30% will be reviewed by human beings. And then the shortlisted candidates may be interviewed using video interviews that again will be automatically ranked and evaluated. And then up to 10 candidates may be meeting another round of human review in interviews. And then we have candidates getting job offers. Okay, so if you think about how resumes will be ranked and matched, something, right? There are two different things. The first round of matching will taking place at the job ad level, right? Job ads will be processed by natural language processing algorithms, and then the skills and credentials will be generated and your resume will be passed by another set of NLP algorithms, and eventually it will be matched, right, with their job ontology. So, and the time spent on resume screening, we know that for traditional resume screening for human beings, it's about 15 seconds. And for algorithms, the time gets shortened to around 1 second for one-page resume. So that's the type of audience you will be facing. Okay, so how those texts will be processed is like this. Job ads will be tagged. All those important keywords about it to our database, sometimes JSON, sometimes XML files. And that's being done prior to the hiring by recruiting agencies such as ZipRecruiter and Burning Glass, which is a real-time labor market analytics company. And your resume will be downloaded as a part, one of thousands of resumes, and it will be processed as plain text. Okay, so if you have a PDF file, an image, or whatever, it will be processed as TXT files, and then it will be tagged, and keywords will be extracted, and then that's where the semantic matching takes place. Okay, and eventually your resumes will be converted into multiple categories of information into the applicant tracking system as well. Okay, so here's the process, right? So remember, both job ads and resumes will be imported as natural language texts in different formats, right? As I said, PDF, Word, LinkedIn profile, so plain text, and then job ads will be converted into plain text, right? And then both types of texts will be converted into machine readable languages, mostly XML or JSON. And then, so the resume parser will be generated data from your resume, and then the matching will take place. So how does resume parsing take place, right? How does it work? So I want to introduce to you the schema, ontology categories, subcategories of resumes. So if you look at the major resume parsing, resume matching service providers, most of them will have what they call top level categories. And as you can imagine, right, and you think about your resume sections, and those are the parts that will be used here as well. But then I want you to pay attention to how competencies, trainings, and credentials, those are sometimes separate categories. And then what's really interesting is the skill set category, right? For instance, if we think about subcategories for each section, some of them are pretty straightforward. For instance, position history, right, will be divided into subcategories using JSON or XML, and those will be things like companies' names, employers' locations, right, title of your position, whether your employment status, right, is it self-employment or being employed by a corporation, and then if you have management positions, how many employees do you supervise, those kind of things, right, duration. But when we get to the skills part, so it's getting messier and messier, right? Top category straightforward, subcategories pretty, standard, and then skills are getting really messy. So I'll give you one example of project management, right? Remember, natural language processing, it's going to be matching, word by word matching. So to make sure we have good matching results, the better AI tools will come up with a lot of synonyms for skills, right? For instance, when you think about project management, personnel, budget, time management, workflow, collaboration, right? Coordination, contracts. And then there's the tools, right? Google Sheet, Trello, Jira, Gantt chart, right? Agile project management, and so on and so forth. So it's getting messier. Okay, so Now, what has been done at the national level and at a lot of corporate level is, the job ads will be pre-processed because service providers want to understand what are the mainstream skills required by certain job titles that may have representation at the national level, right? So if we look at big data analytics, one thing that I've been talking about in other settings is how labor market analytics companies have been collecting job postings on a daily basis for the past 10, 15 years. And they've been producing a lot of big data analytics about different job titles. And what's really interesting is how they categorize the skills. So skills are categorized as necessary skills, defining skills, and then there's distinguished and specialized skills. So I guess I'll walk you through the data. So the data I have here were collected back in 2021, and I have data from the first half of the pandemic, right? I want to see how the labor market performed at that time. So as you can see, we have about 22,000 job postings, and then defining skills for TechCom professionals is pretty predictable: writing, communication, right? Microsoft tools, and then brief references to computer literacy. Okay, and then defining skills. So it's getting a little bit more specialized. As you can see, there's a lot of reference to Adobe tools, XML, right? Content management, content development, content management systems, and then there's reference to project management, a lot of that, and the type of communication products you'll be producing. Okay, distinguishing tools, right, which will be specialized tools. So those are mostly technologies: Adobe, right, XML, Scrum, Git, GitHub, Python, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's big data. Now we'll move on to the exercise for your own small data analytics. And I want to make sure you know what we will be doing here. So what I want to do is to help you to understand, if you want to apply for jobs in specific industries, right, or even individual companies, how do you produce small data analytics that will help you to tailor your application materials to different companies? So that's the goal, right? Okay. So I'll wait maybe 1 minute for you to download everything. Then let's see. I'll just broadcast a message saying, okay, the job ad resume matching workshop will start in a minute. Okay, I'll broadcast that. Okay, and let me know when you have everything. Okay, so do you have Antcon installed? Do you have the Google TechWriter TXT file downloaded? And then there is a stop word. If you use Windows, you can use the stop word as well. Okay, so I assume you have everything. Okay, let's move on. So the first thing I want you to think through is the type of data that will be generated out of your resume. So there are two different types, right? If you think about data analytics, we have categorical data, and then we have ordinal or numerical data. So what we mean is if you are working with categorical data, it's going to be yes or no. I want you to think about your resume in that way, right? Again, think as an object, think about your resume as the algorithms, right? So categorical data will be yes or no. And if you have a job that requires 5 years or more of experiences, you want to go to your employment history and do the calculation, because that's how the algorithm will work, right? Okay, so categorical data will be yes or no. Okay, and then ordinal or numerical data, depending on how we talk about it, it will be ranked, it will be weighted. Okay, and you can use frequency as a data point that will help you to think through how your data can be and your skills can be ranked differently. Okay, so we'll be using AntCan, and hopefully you'll have 3.4.8, which will be a little bit more straightforward. But if you have Mac computer, here's the UI, right? The user interface. So if you have Mac and if you are using 4.0.6, here are the initial few steps. You want to go to File, and then click on Create Quick Corpus. Okay, and then you should have downloaded the files that I shared, and then you can add the file, right? Click Raw Files, and then click Add File, and then you should be able to add the Google TechWriter TXT file with 6 different job ads to your list. And then click on Create, and that's how far I can go, because I don't have a Mac, so I just experimented with the first few steps. And then next step, if you have AntCan, right, 3.5.8, I can take you further. So what you need to do is to go to File, Open Files, and then choose the document Google TechWriter, and then click on Tool Preferences on the top left side of the UI, and then click on Word List and then Open. So you should be able to add stop word in the list, and then click on Apply. Okay. I'll stop and see whether you can catch up. Okay. If everything works, then you should be able to get to, you should be able to add the stop word list, right? And then apply, and then you should be able to go to the original user interface and click on word list and then start. Okay. And then you should be able to generate a list of keywords that are related to the job. So I'll pause here and see. Okay. Let me reshare my screen. Open AntCan. And I'll reshare my screen. Okay. So go to File, Open File, right? Have the data. So I do have TechWriter saved here. So you can highlight and then go to Tool Preference, Word List. Add Word from files. I'll open, and then I'll add the stop word, and then apply, and then start. Word list. That's a thing. Oh, stop word. Let me make sure I have the stop word applied. Okay, That's fine. So what you can do is use the shortcut. So it's going to be Shift plus Shift and left click. Okay, click. So you press down Shift and left click, and then you go down the list to the very bottom. So we have 614 words, and you Shift and left click again. So you highlight all the keywords, and then use Control C to select everything. Okay. Okay. To select everything. I'll wait until you finish that step.
Hi, Dr. Ding, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. So let me reshare my screen. So hopefully you select everything, right? You should be able to add the keywords, all the keywords to a spreadsheet. Okay, if you can do that, and then you can clean all the irrelevant words. You can delete them. Okay, one by one. Some of the stop words are still here, so make sure you go through that. Okay, so let's see, right? I do have a exercise page for you, so I'd like you to take a second, claim one of the tables, and then add your name, and then add the top keywords from your job ad. Okay, I'll let you work on that for maybe 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll check the table to see whether you have your content there. Here's the workspace for the workshop. So if you want to come in and add your keywords, that's where you can post your results. So I'll go back to the word list, right? Since we have a very small audience, what we can do is to go deeper, and instead of looking at the top 10 words, we can probably go down to top 15, top 20 to spend a little bit more time with your data. Okay, so let's move on. So if you have your results, I have the top 20 keywords uploaded here from the Google Tech Writer position. I choose Google because Google is coming to town, right? So hopefully some of you, the MS students, will be able to eventually move to a position for in Google, and the job is really interesting. Okay, so next step, I'd like you to move to the AdCam Pay tool. So let me shift the window again. So you go back to AdCam, you can close selected file. So we'll close that. And then I'd like you to import your resume as a txt file, right? So I have my resume here. And then again, use the stop word. I have the stop word here as well. Click on apply, and then you can go to the word list again and start. So, so you can choose again, right? You can use click shift and left click, go down. I'll just stop in a random place and then control and copy, control C. So you select everything. Okay, so let me reshare my screen. You go back to your spreadsheet. Okay. And you add another tab and add other keywords from your resume. Okay, and you can clean things up. Clean things up and get your top 20 keywords. So I'll just go down the list. Okay, looks good to me. So grab the top 20. Okay, so work on that. Once you have your top 20, you can go to the Google Doc. Okay. I'll let you take another minute. Okay, so that's a brief exercise, right? You have two different corpora, right? Two different corporas. One is your job ad, collection of job ads, right? You can have your own, or you can use the Google tech writing positions that I collected. And then you have your own resume. So you have two different types of corpus, okay? And you produce top 10 or top 20, right, keywords. Okay, so you clean it up, and eventually you'll have other substantial, mostly nouns, right, related to job responsibilities or skills. And we have two different columns, right? One will be Google's top words, and the second column will be your resume. top words from your resume, and you have frequencies as well. Okay, so what we will do next is to do what I call unweighted GPA, right? For those of you who still remember how school, right, high school works, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think their academic class will be 4.0, honors will be 4.5, and AP classes will be 5.0, right? So you have unweighted GPA that does not take into consideration how different classes are going to be calculated. And then you have weighted GPA, right? So if you don't think about the different weights that will be assigned to different skills, you may have categorical matching, right? Categorical data, oh, I have all the skills, writing and documentation and something, right? But if you take a weighted GPA approach, you know, you will say, okay, we have two students who have both perfect unweighted GPA of maybe 4.0, right? But if you look at the unweighted GPA, student A has been taking all academic classes. So weighted GPA will be 4.0. But for students who work a lot on AP classes, the weighted GPA will be much higher. It can be 4.6, 4.5, right? That's the difference. Excuse me. So I want you to think about your skills in that way as well. We'll be doing preliminary matching by color coding, right? You'll be color code the matching words in using light green, and then the missing words in the job ads in light red, and then we'll be ranking that in the next few minutes. And eventually, I'd like you to highlight all the missing skills, and we'll wrap up with redescribing your experiences using those missing words if possible. So let me re-share my screen, and we'll go back to the Google Doc if I can find it. Okay, that's the wrong one. Okay, right here. Okay. All right, so you have some of the keywords. That's great. Let's see. So let's do some color coding. Like for I'm clearly not a good match, right? I'm not a good match. Okay, to start with, I have a pretty typical academic resume. So if I want to do color coding, let's see, let's spend about 2 minutes working on this, and then talking about the missing ones very briefly. Oh, it's not. Joseph, you are in good shape. So let's see. Light green, definitely have a lot of writing. Do you have data? Okay, please highlight the ones that you don't have in light red. So I can quickly red ones. And then let's go up. Okay, Now, if you identify something, right, that's missing, like for me, cloud is definitely a keyword that I don't have in my resume. Okay, is there a way for me to add it to my description of experiences? Maybe, right? Product, I don't have that in my resume either. So consider a couple of ways to add those things, right? Product design, product quality assurance, right? Product evaluation, and so product development, right? You want to find a way to incorporate those key concepts in your description of experiences and skills to make it match better with the job positions. Okay. So that's the last step. And let me reshare. Just to summarize here, so what AI tools will be looking for is still a lot of the same things, right? You really need to tailor your resume to the job ads. You want to have a clear match manually using small data analytics, right? Related to jobs. And then you want to use a lot of synonyms referring to the important skills repeatedly, right, in different places in your resume. And we are in a skill-centered hiring process now because of the use of natural language processing. So make sure you really work really hard to articulate your skills, competencies in your job experiences to generate a better resume job ad matching results. Okay. All right, I think my time's up. I'll stop here and see whether you have any questions, last minute questions. And if you are interested in weighted GPA, how to do more nuanced matching, so we have very preliminary matching in terms of unweighted GPA, right? Categorical information. But if you want to go into more depth, maybe consider coming back next year. SpeedCon is wonderful. We have a lot of good information here, and I do plan to come back and show you how to generate more like real world matching results using weighted skill vectors. Today we are going through presence or absence, but you need to go deeper, which will take more time. Will write work? Yes. Writing, writer, written products, those are all the same STEM word. So yes, write will work.